They say you can't judge a book by its cover. But when Marcus Green walked into that upscale downtown restaurant wearing a plain hoodie, worn sneakers, and a quiet, tired look in his eyes, that's exactly what the waitress did. Her name was Brittany, blonde, mid-20s, face painted with indifference and confidence that came from years of getting away with subtle cruelty. She barely looked up from her station as Marcus stood at the hostess podium, waiting to be seated. The place wasn't packed. Just a lazy Tuesday evening crowd of business types nursing cocktails and early dinners. But Brittany gave him the kind of look you reserve for gum on your shoe. "Takeout orders are picked up around back," she said without even asking what he was there for. Marcus calmly responded, "I'd like a table for one, please." Her eyes narrowed. "Sorry, we're full tonight. Do you have a reservation?" He glanced around. Half the tables were empty. "No. But, then I'm afraid we can't help you," she said, already walking away. Another server, a younger girl named Eliza, looked up from bussing a table nearby and frowned, her eyes lingering on Marcus. Something about this didn't sit right with her. But Brittany gave her a sharp shake of the head. "Stay in your lane," it seemed to say. Marcus didn't argue. He simply nodded, gave a soft thank you and turned to leave, but not before looking back once, locking eyes with Eliza for just a second. His gaze wasn't angry. Just disappointed. That stuck with her. That same evening, just 30 minutes later, a black SUV pulled up outside the restaurant. A tall man in a tailored navy blue suit stepped out, flanked by two sharply dressed associates. The manager, Gregory, came rushing out the moment he saw them. "Mr. Green. We weren't expecting you until next week." Brittany watched from behind the bar, frozen. Mr. Green? As in, Marcus Green? That same man she'd dismissed? The man now shaking hands with her boss? The man now being led to the private dining room with VIP treatment? Her stomach dropped. Eliza, peeking through the kitchen door, gasped under her breath. "That's him," she whispered. Turns out Marcus wasn't just a regular guy. He was the new owner. Not just of the restaurant, but of the entire hospitality group that had recently acquired the chain. And Brittany had turned him away like he didn't even belong in the building. Inside the private room, Marcus sat calmly while Gregory groveled. "I'm terribly sorry about the confusion at the front, sir. I'll have a word with the staff." Marcus simply smiled. "No need. I'd rather observe how things operate when no one's watching." Outside, Brittany was pacing. She couldn't focus. She replayed their earlier exchange in her head, her tone, her words. Everything. And as she slowly began connecting the dots, panic crept in. What if he remembered her? What if he told Gregory? What if— "Brittany, we need you to serve table 12, Eliza said quietly, holding out the ticket. "That's the room he's in." Brittany froze. I can't." "You do it." Eliza blinked. "He asked for you by name." Brittany's face turned white. She walked to the back, took a long sip of water, and composed herself before heading toward the private room. She knocked lightly and stepped inside, smiling awkwardly. "Good evening, sir. I'll be taking care of you tonight." Marcus looked up slowly, locking eyes with her. No smile. Just a calm, unreadable expression. "Brittany, is it?" She nodded. "Why, yes, sir." "Great. I'd like to order something simple. The same menu everyone else gets. Let's see how it tastes." She swallowed hard, scribbling his order. The entire time, her hands trembled. Eliza peeked in from the kitchen, eyes wide. She had never seen Brittany look like that before. That night, Marcus didn't say much. He ate quietly, thanked the kitchen staff personally, and left a generous tip, with one note written neatly on the back of the receipt. "We all wear uniforms. Yours just comes with an apron instead of a patch. Never forget that." The next morning, the entire restaurant staff was called to an emergency meeting. Gregory stood nervously in front of them, hands wringing. "Mr. Green has decided to implement new training protocols," he said. "Effective immediately." Whispers shot through the room. Brittany looked like she hadn't slept a wink. Marcus entered moments later, in jeans and a crisp white shirt, no entourage this time. "I wanted to talk to you all myself," he began, scanning the room. "Because what happened yesterday wasn't just about poor service, it was about character." He paused at Brittany. Her knees nearly buckled. "We're in the business of serving people. All people. And if we're failing at that, we're failing at everything." He didn't mention her name. He didn't have to. Everyone knew. Brittany stared down at her shoes, cheeks burning. Eliza stood a little taller. And Marcus continued, there are two kinds of people in every business. Those who serve with pride and those who let pride get in the way of service. Starting today we're going to learn the difference. As the staff filed out, murmuring amongst themselves, Brittany stayed behind. She approached Marcus quietly. Mr. Green? I didn't know who you were. He looked at her for a long moment. And if I'd been just a regular black man looking for dinner, would that have changed anything? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Just the sound of a heavy silence between them. And then, as if the tension couldn't get any thicker, Marcus's phone buzzed. He glanced down and his entire expression shifted. He looked at Brittany once more, then calmly said, "Excuse me." He stepped outside to take the call. Eliza happened to pass by and caught a glimpse of his screen before it dimmed. A Department of Justice emblem. What kind of man had they turned away? And as Eliza turned to tell the others, none of them were prepared for what would happen next. When federal agents walked through the door looking for Marcus Green. The entire restaurant was still buzzing from the morning meeting when the front doors opened with a sharp metallic chime that seemed to silence the room. Two sharply dressed men in dark suits and earpieces walked in with authority, scanning the room before one of them approached the hostess stand. "We're looking for Mr. Marcus Green," the taller agent said calmly. Gregory rushed to the front, visibly alarmed. "Is everything all right?" he asked, his voice cracking slightly. Marcus had just stepped out back to take a call, but the look on these agents' faces wasn't one of hostility. It was respect, urgency maybe, but not danger. Eliza stood in the hallway watching, and when Brittany caught sight of the agents, her knees nearly buckled. Her stomach churned with unease. First the owner. Now federal agents? Who exactly had she turned away? Seconds later, Marcus re-entered the restaurant through the side door, sliding his phone back into his blazer pocket. The agents spotted him instantly. "Director Green," one of them said with a nod. "It's time." Murmurs rippled through the staff. "Director?" Eliza mouthed. Brittany blinked rapidly, her mind trying to catch up. Marcus walked forward calmly, his presence now entirely different, commanding, certain, intimidating in its quiet authority. "Understood," he said. Then he turned to Gregory. "I need to step out for a bit. We'll continue the staff training later." "Yes, sir," Gregory replied, trying to maintain composure. The staff watched in stunned silence as Marcus and the agents exited the restaurant and stepped into a sleek black government SUV, which sped off moments later. The second the door shut behind them, the dam broke. "Director? As in what, FBI?" one cook said. "Did you see that badge?" said a busboy. "I thought he just owned restaurants." Eliza looked around at everyone. "I don't think that's all he does." Back in the private dining area, Brittany sat in a chair, hands clasped, eyes wide. Her face was pale, her mind reeling with everything that had just happened. She had been rude, dismissive, almost cruel. And not only was Marcus the owner, he was someone with connections deep in the government. Her heart pounded in her chest. "What if he has me fired?" she muttered to herself. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was that she knew better. Her parents had raised her to treat people with respect. But somewhere along the line, the idea of power got tangled up with prejudice. She had judged Marcus based on the color of his skin and the clothes he wore, simple, ordinary. And now it was all coming back to bite her. Over the next few hours, Eliza found herself pulled deeper into curiosity. She started digging. A Google search for Marcus Green director revealed a flood of results. A Harvard Law graduate. Former military. Worked with the DOJ, Homeland Security, and owned several investment firms and luxury hospitality businesses. Philanthropist. Advocate for underprivileged communities. One article even referred to him as the man who could be mayor. "Oh my God," Eliza whispered as she scrolled. She printed out the article and showed it to Brittany, whose face went even paler. I need to talk to him," she said. "I need to apologize." "You should," Eliza said quietly. "But it might be too late." Meanwhile, across the city in a secure government building, Marcus sat at a large conference table reviewing documents. "The trafficking ring you flagged is more widespread than we thought," one agent said, laying out photographs. "We think it's using restaurants and clubs as covers, especially ones with high turnover and cash-heavy transactions." Marcus leaned forward. Give me the full list of flag locations. Cross-reference with the ones I acquired last quarter. Another agent handed him a file. It's already done. And sir, one of your new acquisitions just triggered a suspicious transfer last week. Marcus's brow furrowed. Which one? The upscale dining one. The one you visited yesterday. Marcus's eyes narrowed. The one with the hostess issue? The agent nodded. Exactly. We're not saying she's involved, but it's strange timing. Someone inside transferred funds through a shell vendor. Marcus stared at the document, the name of the vendor sparking something in his memory. Call the bank. Freeze that account. And have Gregory audited. Quietly. Hours later, back at the restaurant, Marcus returned. His presence immediately shifted the energy in the building. Staff straightened up, conversations quieted. Gregory rushed to greet him. Everything all right, sir? Marcus nodded, then turned to Brittany, who had been standing near the bar trembling slightly. Can we talk? She followed him into the private dining room, the same room where she had awkwardly served him the day before. Mr. Green, she started nervously, I want to sincerely apologize. I know what I said, how I acted, it was completely unacceptable. I didn't know who you were, but that's not an excuse. I was wrong. Marcus looked at her carefully. Do you think I care that you didn't know who I was? She blinked. I'm not sure. Because I don't, he said flatly. I care how you treat everyone. Brittany's eyes welled up with tears. I understand. I was wrong. And I'll do anything to make it right. Marcus was silent for a moment. Then start by staying for the training. And listen. Really listen. Because your job isn't just at risk because of how you treated me, but because there's something going on in this restaurant that's much bigger than either of us. She looked up, confused. What do you mean? Marcus leaned in. Someone here is laundering money. And I intend to find out who. Brittany's breath caught in her throat. Wait, you think someone here? I don't think. I know. At that exact moment, Eliza burst into the room wide-eyed. Mr. Green, you need to come to the back. Now. Marcus rushed behind the kitchen, Brittany and Eliza in tow. There, standing awkwardly near the back freezer, was one of the assistant managers, Tommy. Red-faced, sweating and holding a backpack. He was trying to leave early, the chef explained. But then we found this. He pointed to a thick envelope of cash partially visible in Tommy's bag. Tommy's face was pure guilt. It's not what it looks like, he stammered. Marcus stepped forward. Then what is it, Tommy? It's my tip money. I swear. But Marcus was already holding up the envelope. This has vendor tags on it. And serials flagged by Homeland Security. Tommy looked like he was about to bolt. But Marcus didn't flinch. I'd think carefully about your next move. Everyone stood frozen. Tommy's mouth opened but no sound came out. Then suddenly he ran. Out the back door. Down the alley. Marcus took off after him, coat flying behind him. Eliza and Brittany ran to the side window just in time to see Marcus chasing Tommy across the parking lot. Then, a black van screeched to a stop at the corner. The side door flew open. Two masked men stepped out and pulled Tommy inside. The van sped away before Marcus could reach it. He stood alone in the lot, breathing hard, eyes narrowing. This goes deeper than we thought, he muttered. And back inside the restaurant, Eliza whispered, What the hell is going on? But Brittany just stood there, hands over her mouth, staring out the window where Marcus now stood. We're not in a restaurant anymore, she whispered. We're in the middle of something dangerous. And just as she said it, Marcus's phone rang again. His eyes widened as he read the screen. He turned and sprinted back toward the building, bursting through the door. Everyone out, now. Lock the front. Someone in this building is feeding information to the ring. Everyone froze. You mean here? Gregory stammered. Marcus nodded grimly. There's a mole. And they know I'm here. Chaos exploded inside the restaurant the moment Marcus shouted for everyone to evacuate. Staff scrambled, unsure if it was a drill, a threat, or something far worse. Dishes clattered, chairs fell, and customers began to panic as Gregory rushed to lock the front doors. Marcus scanned the room with laser precision, his instincts honed by years in federal intelligence screaming that danger was closer than anyone realized. Eliza grabbed Brittany's arm and pulled her toward the staff exit. Come on, she urged. Brittany, still stunned, moved with her, her thoughts racing. Mole? Someone inside feeding information to a criminal ring? And Marcus knew? She glanced back once before they slipped into the alley behind the restaurant, just in time to see two more black vans circle the block. "We need to call someone," Brittany said, her voice shaking. "I mean, this is above all our heads." "He's already on it," Eliza replied, glancing down at the encrypted app Marcus had made the staff install after the training session. But when Eliza tapped it, the app wouldn't load. "What the?" At that moment, Marcus came running out behind them. "Phones off. Everyone, phones down." He grabbed Brittany's wrist and yanked her phone from her hand, tossing it into a nearby dumpster. "They're tracing devices. If you're connected, they know exactly where you are." Gregory ran out after them, out of breath. "We secured the doors," he said. "But I saw someone slip into the pantry. I think we've got another problem." Marcus didn't wait. He stormed back inside, straight to the pantry, flinging the door open, and sure enough, someone was crouched behind the dry storage crates, typing something frantically into a burner phone. "Drop it," Marcus said coldly. The man turned, another assistant manager named Vince, his eyes wide with guilt. I didn't. You were texting a contact," Marcus snapped. "That's obstruction of a federal investigation." Vince lunged, trying to push past him, but Marcus sidestepped like a trained fighter and slammed Vince into the pantry wall. "You're going to tell me everything you know. Now." "I didn't mean to," Vince shouted. "They paid me, they said they'd hurt my sister if I didn't cooperate." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "How long have you been feeding them intel?" "Since the acquisition," Vince stammered. "They said if I told them what your schedule was when the inspectors were coming, they'd leave my family alone." Marcus pulled him by the collar. "Where's your sister now?" Vince's eyes filled with tears. "They've got her. Somewhere downtown. I haven't heard from her in 2 days." Brittany, watching from behind the pantry door, felt like the ground had dropped out from beneath her. This wasn't just some petty financial scam. This was serious. Human trafficking. Hostages. And somehow she was in the middle of it. "We need to get out of here," Eliza whispered. "And we need backup." "Backup's already been delayed," Marcus said grimly. "We just lost comms with the regional task force. They may be compromised." He turned to Vince. "You're coming with me. You're going to lead us to where they're holding your sister." Vince nodded rapidly, clearly terrified. Marcus turned to Gregory. "Lock down the restaurant. Eliza, you're in charge until I get back. No one in, no one out." "What about us?" Brittany asked. Marcus stared at her for a long moment. "You're with me." "Wait, what?" she gasped. "Why me?" "Because you still owe me," Marcus said flatly. "And something tells me you've got more fire than fear." Before she could argue, he tossed her a jacket and a set of gloves. "Put those on. We're going off the grid." A few minutes later, Marcus, Brittany, and Vince were speeding through the back streets of the city in Marcus's black Mercedes G-Class. Brittany clutched the door handle as Marcus drove with tactical precision, weaving between alleys and using side streets to avoid surveillance. "You really are a federal agent?" she finally asked. "Not quite," Marcus said, eyes focused on the road. "I'm a private intelligence consultant now. But I used to work deep undercover for Homeland Security, investigating trafficking networks that launder money through legitimate businesses." "And this restaurant?" "Was one of the locations flagged by an anonymous tip. I bought it through a shell company to investigate without tipping off the ring." "And you?" "I started working there a few months ago. It was just a job," she murmured. "I didn't know any of this was happening." "Most don't," Marcus said. "That's how these people operate. In plain sight." They pulled up outside an old industrial warehouse near the harbor. Vince was trembling. "They moved her here last week," he whispered. "Said if I screwed up they'd, "We're not going to let that happen," Marcus said. He stepped out of the car and surveyed the building. 2 guards at the back entrance. No obvious cameras. Motion lights. "We need a distraction," he muttered. Brittany looked at the back wall of the warehouse, then grabbed a rock and tossed it toward the dumpsters, triggering the motion lights and drawing the guards' attention. While they moved to investigate, Marcus slipped around the side, picking the lock with practiced ease. They crept through a dark hallway filled with crates and industrial equipment until they found a locked door. "This is it," Vince said. Marcus placed a tiny device against the lock, an electric pick that popped it open in seconds. Inside, a young woman was tied to a chair, her mouth gagged. Her eyes widened as they entered. Sarah. Vince rushed to her side. Marcus cut her free and Brittany helped her stand. "We've got to go," Marcus said. But just then, a loud click echoed through the room. A man stepped into the doorway pointing a silenced pistol directly at Marcus. "That's far enough," the man sneered. "You're not taking her anywhere." The man was tall, built like a soldier, with cold, empty eyes. "You really thought we didn't know who you were, Mr. Green? You've been flagged since the minute you bought that restaurant." Brittany froze. Vince pulled Sarah behind a crate. But Marcus didn't move. He raised his hands slowly. "You shoot me and the whole city knows. That's a risk you really want to take." The man smirked. "I'm not here to kill you. Just to send a message." "Then send it," Marcus growled. "And see what happens next." The man laughed. "Oh, we already have. You should check your restaurant. Right about now, it's burning." Brittany gasped. "What?" Marcus's eyes widened and he lunged forward. The man fired, once, missing by inches. Marcus tackled him, slamming him against the concrete wall. They struggled violently. Brittany picked up a metal bar and swung it into the attacker's side. He grunted and collapsed. Marcus cuffed him with a zip tie and turned to Vince and Sarah. "We're moving, now." They ran out the back, slipping into the car and speeding off. As they drove, smoke became visible on the distant skyline, thick black clouds. Marcus slammed the dashboard. They torched it. They really torched the restaurant. "Eliza and the staff," Brittany started. "They were supposed to be safe." Marcus pressed the comm button on his watch. Static. Then, green attacked, fire, can't hold, and then nothing. Marcus looked at Brittany, his jaw clenched. "They've declared war." He pulled out a second phone and typed in a sequence. "I'm calling in the final protocol. This ends now." "Final protocol?" Brittany asked. "What does that mean?" "It means," Marcus said grimly, "we're taking the fight to them." But as they drove into the darkening city, Marcus's phone lit up with one final alert. A name. A location. A message. "The mole isn't who you think." Marcus stared at the screen. His expression darkened. "No, it can't be." He slowly turned to look at Brittany. Marcus gripped the steering wheel tighter, knuckles whitening as the alert glowed on the screen of his burner phone. "The mole isn't who you think." Those words echoed like a gunshot in the cabin of the SUV. Beside him, Brittany sat frozen, her eyes wide and uncertain. "What does it say?" she asked hesitantly, though the look on Marcus's face already told her it wasn't good. He didn't answer at first. His jaw worked and his eyes flicked from her face to the road. Finally he said in a low voice, "We've been betrayed from inside. And whoever sent that message, they just narrowed it down." Brittany's mind raced. "You think it's Eliza?" "No," Marcus replied quickly. "I trust Eliza with my life. Whoever this is, they're close. Real close. Someone I didn't question." Brittany blinked. "You think it's me?" Marcus didn't respond. The silence between them deepened until the sound of sirens pierced the tense quiet. They looked up just in time to see a fleet of unmarked SUVs race past them in the opposite direction, toward the burning restaurant. "We need to double back," Marcus muttered, spinning the vehicle around and hitting the gas. "If there's a mole, Eliza and the staff might be sitting ducks." As they approached the charred remains of the restaurant, smoke billowing into the dark sky, a fire crew was just arriving, but they were moving sluggishly, too sluggishly. Marcus's eyes narrowed. Something's off. He pulled over a block away and stepped out, surveying the area. Brittany followed hesitantly. As they rounded the back of the building, they heard a loud crash, glass shattering and then coughing. Eliza emerged from the side door, covered in soot, helping two line cooks limp out behind her. "Marcus," she shouted, relief and fury in her voice. "We were ambushed." "How many?" Marcus asked, pulling her behind a delivery van for cover. "4 men, armed, masks military style," she gasped. "They came through the basement and locked us in. Set fire to the break room." "Where's Gregory?" "Gone. We haven't seen him since the fire started." "Damn it," Marcus cursed. "I knew it. It's him. He's the mole." "Gregory?" Brittany asked, stunned. "But he's worked here for years." He vouched for you. Exactly, Marcus snapped. Too clean, too helpful. He's been monitoring my moves from the beginning. Probably the one who knew how to override our communication network. Eliza shook her head, furious. We need to get everyone to safety. We can't go to any safe house, Marcus said. Not until I isolate the tracking loop. Brittany, where's the key fob you had earlier? She reached into her pocket. Here, wait, no, it's gone. They swapped it, Marcus said. They've been tracking us through devices we didn't even suspect. We have to shut everything down. They moved quickly, piling the injured staff into Marcus's SUV and speeding off toward a warehouse Marcus owned across the city, a location known only to two people. As the group settled in, Eliza stayed on lookout while Marcus rigged a signal blocker to keep their position hidden. Brittany sat in the corner, shell-shocked. The waitress job she'd once taken for granted had turned into a battlefield. This isn't real, she murmured. It can't be. It's real, Marcus said, placing a tray of bottled water in front of her. These people don't care who they hurt. They just want power, profit, and silence. And you're now a witness they can't afford to leave standing. What happens now? She asked. Now, Marcus said, we expose the network. We take down Gregory. And we shut this operation down for good. Just then the garage door creaked open slightly and a voice called out, Marcus. Everyone turned. Marcus reached for his weapon, but then froze. It was Vince with his sister Sarah, both bruised and shaken. We made it, Vince gasped. They followed us part of the way, but I lost them at the bridge. Get inside, Marcus ordered, and tell me everything. As they huddled, Vince explained the depth of Gregory's connection. He'd worked not only for the restaurant group but for a shell corporation tied to offshore banking operations and trafficking fronts. He's a handler, Vince said. He moves people, money, and merchandise. But he's also smart. He's been manipulating you this entire time. Marcus stood. We're taking this to the FBI. Are you crazy? Eliza hissed. The Bureau may already be compromised. Not the whole Bureau, Marcus replied. There's one agent I trust, Agent Sharp. She's buried so deep in counterintelligence, even I had to go through 2 filters to get her contact. Then let's find her, Brittany said. But just then a strange ping echoed through the building. Marcus looked at his signal monitor. We've been pinged. Someone just pinpointed our location. Eliza stood. How? Unless, someone's still transmitting. They all looked around. Marcus's eyes landed on Brittany's purse. He snatched it open and found a tiny transmitter embedded in the lining. I didn't put that there. Brittany gasped. I swear. Gregory did, Marcus said darkly. He planted it when he hugged you goodbye earlier this week. So he's tracking me now, she whispered, horrified. He wants us to think we're ahead, Marcus said. But he's already laid the trap. A rumble echoed outside. Marcus crept toward the garage window and peered out. 3 black SUVs. Armed men stepping out, weapons raised. They're here, he said grimly. Lock it down. The warehouse exploded into action. Eliza moved the staff into a fortified inner room. Vince took Sarah down a hatch to the bunker below. Brittany stood frozen until Marcus handed her a taser. Stay close to me. If things go bad, take the tunnel exit and don't look back. And leave you? She whispered. You saved me. I'm not leaving you behind. Let's make sure it doesn't come to that. With a crack, the garage doors were torn open by a breaching charge. Smoke flooded in. Shadows of armed men appeared through the mist. Marcus fired a warning shot. You're trespassing on federal property, he shouted. This is a citizen's arrest. A cold voice responded from the smoke. Drop your weapons, Marcus. This ends tonight. Gregory, Marcus growled. Come out and face me. Oh, I will, the voice said. But first, I need you to understand. You've already lost. The girl? The staff? Just collateral. You think you can play hero? A red laser dot suddenly appeared on Marcus's chest. Then another. And another. Brittany screamed and lunged toward him, pushing him to the ground just as a shot rang out. The screen went white with the sound of the blast. Then, darkness. The shot rang out like thunder. For a split second, the warehouse was suspended in time. Brittany's scream pierced the air as Marcus fell beneath her, the red laser dot vanishing into smoke. Men in black tactical gear stormed the building, voices shouting over each other, weapons drawn. Secure the perimeter. He's still breathing. The chaos surged around her, but Brittany didn't move. She was sprawled across Marcus, trembling, eyes squeezed shut, praying he was alive. A hand yanked her off him roughly, but before she could scream again, a woman's voice shouted, "Stand down. She's a civilian." Through the blur of smoke and adrenaline, Brittany looked up into the steely eyes of Agent Sharp, a tall black woman in tactical gear, badge gleaming, gun aimed at Gregory's men. "This is a federal operation now," she declared. "You're all under arrest." One of Gregory's mercenaries turned to run. Sharp dropped him with a single precise shot to the leg. Then backup poured in. Real FBI agents in marked jackets swarmed the warehouse like a tide. Within seconds the false team was overwhelmed. Gregory, however, stood at the back, calmly clapping. "Well played, Sharp," he said with a sneer. "But you'll never prove I had anything to do with this. I'm just a restaurant manager." "You think we don't have it all?" she replied, smirking. "The offshore accounts, the shell companies, the real estate fronts? You were sloppy, Gregory. Real sloppy. Your mistake was targeting Marcus." Brittany turned to Marcus, who groaned and sat up slowly. "Bullet grazed my shoulder," he muttered. "But I'm good." Sharp knelt beside him. "We got your message. The burner phone GPS you activated, it was brilliant." "Took a gamble," Marcus said, wincing. "Figured Gregory couldn't jam a hardline signal burst. You got here just in time. Thanks to you." She looked around at the battered survivors. "Let's get everyone out of here. We've got helicopters coming in 10. As the wounded were helped into ambulances, and the warehouse began to clear, Marcus pulled Brittany aside. "You okay?" he asked gently. She nodded, but tears rimmed her eyes. "I can't believe this all started because I refused to serve you. I was ignorant. I didn't see you." "You weren't the only one," he said softly. "Sometimes people wear masks, not just the villains but all of us. The world taught you to judge a book by its cover. You just needed a reason to open the book." Brittany touched his arm gently. "You gave me more than that. You saved my life." Eliza approached, arms crossed. "And ours," she added. "Thanks to you we'll rebuild. Not just a restaurant, but something better. A network for those still trapped. We owe you everything." "You owe me nothing," Marcus replied. "This was never about me. It was about all the people who go unseen. The cooks, the janitors, the waitresses, the black men judged before they speak. This ends now." Across town news cameras rolled. The arrest of Gregory Stokes was national news. An exposé ran for days about the trafficking ring he was part of, how it extended through fake restaurant fronts, private planes, and clean money operations. His capture sparked investigations across 5 states. And when the footage leaked of Marcus saving hostages while bleeding from a gunshot wound, the public outcry was massive. Commentators debated his identity. Was he an undercover agent? Former military? Private intelligence? No one knew for sure, until he stepped in front of the cameras himself. Wearing a simple shirt, his arm in a sling, Marcus spoke clearly. "My name is Marcus Adebayo. I serve this country. I protected lives abroad and I've fought for justice at home. I was judged by the color of my skin more times than I can count. But let this be the day that judgment ends. We are not what society labels us. We are more." His speech went viral. Brittany stood in the crowd, tears on her cheeks. Eliza stood beside her, arms folded, nodding proudly. Vince and Sarah, their family safe now, joined them in applause. In the weeks that followed, Brittany gave a public statement of her own. She talked about her own ignorance, the shame she felt, and the power of change. "I saw a black man I thought was beneath me, but he turned out to be the most courageous person I've ever met. I judged him by his clothes, not by his character. That mistake nearly cost me my life." She was offered a position at the new community center Marcus helped fund with a portion of the seized assets. She said yes. Not out of guilt, but because she'd found purpose. Marcus quietly disappeared from the spotlight after that. The restaurant was rebuilt under Eliza's leadership and became a beacon for second chances, hiring formerly incarcerated youth, trafficking survivors, and immigrants seeking new beginnings. A bronze plaque hung in the entrance. It read, "To the ones who walk in shadows, may you always find the light." Months later, Brittany sat outside on a bright morning, coffee in hand, watching a group of young volunteers unload food donations. A familiar deep voice made her turn. "Still burning the coffee?" Marcus teased, walking up. He was in casual clothes again, but this time she didn't mistake his dignity. She grinned. "You're lucky I didn't charge you for it." He laughed. "You did once, remember?" "How could I forget?" she replied softly. "But I'll never make that mistake again." They stood together in silence for a moment. Then Brittany looked up at him. "So, where do you go from here?" Marcus looked into the distance. "Wherever I'm needed." She smiled. "And if you ever need a waitress who actually sees people now, I'm available." He raised an eyebrow. "I'll keep that in mind." As he walked away, the camera panned to the plaque, the sun gleaming off the bronze letters. Because sometimes justice isn't just what's done in courtrooms, it's what's learned in the hearts of those who once refused to see. Never judge someone by appearances. A man in worn clothes may have walked through fire and returned with wisdom, while someone in a suit may hide corruption. Kindness costs nothing, but cruelty can cost you everything. Respect must be given freely, not just to those you understand but especially to those you don't. Because the moment you devalue another person is the moment you reveal your own. The end.